Hi guys and welcome back, and if you're new here, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be fitting the EBC Big Brake Kit on my Hyundai i30N. It comes with big 4-pot calipers, larger floating discs, and it normally comes with yellow stuff front and rear pads, but I've got the upgraded RPX pads on there as well. So I'm going to be showing those, how to fit those in this video. It comes with braided lines, all the bolts and all the washers, everything you need to fit it basically. So if you want to see how to do it, stay tuned and I'll see you very shortly. So we've jacked the car up on all 4 corners because once we've fitted the new front calipers we're going to have to be bleeding the back just to get all the new fluid through. The kit also comes with the EBC BF307 Plus racing fluid. At the moment I've got the Castrol React in there, and this has got a higher rating for track days and stuff, got a higher dry boiling point and just generally better fluid. So we've taken the brake reservoir cap off as well, just so there's no pressure in the system while we're removing the pads and changing all the lines and stuff like that. We've done the one side already, so now we're just going to be showing you how to do this side. You can see on the discs they're like seriously grooved. I've got the standard calipers on at the moment obviously, and I've got the Frodo DS 3.12 pads in there, so they've been quite aggressive for the last few track days that we've done. That's another reason why I was changing these and getting the big brake kit at the same time rather than getting new discs and pads. So let's get to it. So just make sure once you're jacking up the car that you've got all of the axle stands level and safe, and you're not going to be ending up with the car falling off the axle stands. The first things we're going to do is just pop out the brake line at the back, just down there, and then we've got 2 bolts at the back of the caliper. Then we can take the caliper off. We're going to have to spread the pads a little bit so we can get the actual caliper off, because the pads will be past the ridge on the discs, and then get the caliper off, take the disc off, and the backing plate for the brakes is going to have to come off as well because it fails when the disc goes round, so we're going to have to take that off as well. Then the new disc goes on, new calipers, new pads in, and we'll be changing the lines in the process. And then I've already got braided lines on the back, so I'm not going to swap those over. I'm just going to stick with the ones that I've got and just keep the other ones as spare, and then we'll bleed the whole system and we're good to go. Okay, so we've just removed these 2 bolts at the back of the caliper. That's what holds it on to the hub, and then we've got the line that needs to come out here, so just pop that out. And then the hard line at the top is an 11mm, and this one, because it's the braided lines already, it's an 18. I can't remember which one the stock line is, but it's muchness and size and process is the same. So I'm just going to remove these 2 bolts. These bolts are quite hard to get out, especially the bottom one. It'll normally end up threading. And then we're just going to pry the pad off with a pry bar just to relieve it off, and then we'll be able to get it off the disc. So the caliper's off, we're just going to rest it there and then we can get to the line and remove that, and then the whole thing's come off now. So we've just got, it's actually a 17 for these lines at the bottom around the back of the suspension, and just an 11mm, and we're just holding the nut at the bottom while we're undoing the one at the top to take the hard line off. It's quite a tedious job, but just make sure the spanner isn't slipping and rounding it off. Just do it gently. So we've got a tray down here as well, just so it can all drip down into. That's the old caliper off. It's the old Frodo 3.12 pads. So we just got the Phillips bit for the locator grub screws. So we're just going to knock them in lightly with a hammer. Just so it bites a little bit better. So that grub screw had completely rounded off, so we ended up having to try to blowtorch it to loosen it, but didn't do anything, and then we've had to drill it out now, so we're just trying to get it out with the mold grips. So the disc is off now, so we're just going to get that out and we can start taking the heat shield off. So now with the new discs, this shield has got to come off at the back, so you've got one bolt there. Another one just there. And that one there at the bottom. So we're just going to take that off. So you just give the little clean with the wire brush just to get any of the rust and crap off, and then just go over it with some brake cleaner. And then before we put the new disc on, we're just going to grease all the way around here so that it's easier to get the disc off when we need to replace it. So the bracket goes on the outside, not on the inside, and the bolt and a washer. And then a washer and the nut on the other side. So we're just going to tighten these up with a gun and then torque them. These are supposed to be 100 Newton meters and they didn't feel quite tight enough, so we just did them up to 120. So it's a 19mm for the nut at the back and then a HW10 for the actual bolt. enough tight just to nip the screws off, just to hold the disc in place. So we're just going to put the line on the caliper and just do it finger tight, just so it's got a bit of movement while we put it on the actual hub and get the rest of the line all sorted. So on the banjo bolt we've got a washer that goes on the bottom of the bolt, and then the other washer goes on the caliper like that. Just going to thread it on just so it's held in place, and the torque setting for that when we do tighten it up is 20 newton meters. So I'm just putting this new bracket on that comes with the EBC kit. It's on a slightly different angle to the HEL lines bracket, so just swapping it over. So the two smaller bolts is what holds the caliper onto the new bracket. So it's got two washers, it's got the normal washer and then a cross washer on both bolts, and the new bracket has got dowels for the actual caliper to sit onto. So just make sure as you're putting it on that it is seated. Before you start putting the bolts in. So the torque spec for these bolts is 60 newton meters. So the banjo and the caliper is still loose, just so we can mess around with the line and make sure it's in the right way. So the little bung goes in there, but we'll do that in a bit. So it goes around the back of the sensor and then up onto there. So this little bit here needs to go up through there, and with this bracket that came with the HEL we have to bend it out a little bit slightly, so we're going to take that off and just bend the two bottom prongs a bit, just so that this fits over this here, and then that's 11, that's a 17mm, and then we can just tighten them up like that. So the disc is on, the lines are routed and fitted on both sides now and tightened up on the caliper, and obviously the caliper is on, so now we're just going to put the pads in. So I'm just going to put just a little bit of lithium grease on there and then just rub it in. So we're just taking this bolt out quickly that holds the sleeve in, that then holds the pads in. I'm just going to put a little bit just on the end of that bolt, and it goes back in that hole. They're not done overly tight anyway, so it won't make much difference, but just make it easier when we do come to change it. The little plate needs to go on there just to hold the pads in. Okay, so the whole kit is fitted now. We've done the bleeding process where one of us was having the little rubber pipe on the furthest caliper away from the brake fluid bottle, and done 5 pumps on the pedal, hold it down until all the air comes out, do that several times, then go to the next rear closer caliper at the back, then the passenger side front, then the driver side front, and then done that cycle twice. And obviously the EBC kit has 2 bleed nipples per caliper, so just make sure you're doing both. And now the pedal feels really stiff. Obviously we're going to have to do the bedding in process for that. We're going to be doing Bedford in a couple of weeks. To test out the brakes and test out the pads as well. So we're going to continue this video once we get there. So I'll be doing, a few laps around Bedford and comparing it to the normal pads and normal brakes and stuff like that on the Hyundai. So hopefully you stay tuned. Thank you for watching up until now. If you're interested in watching how they actually perform on track, then stay tuned and I'll see you very shortly. Thank you for watching. So we just finished up at Bedford. I don't know how much footage I've actually got of being on track. I didn't start recording the laps until the afternoon. I ended up coming off the track not like as in crashing, but I had to pull over to the side because I thought one of the wheels was loose. The wheels were loose slightly, but it actually turned out to be a massive bulge. So I'm going to put the video of that in now so you can see it. Regarding the EBC kit, they're just it's unbelievable how well they brake, and especially with those RPX pads, they're just like savage. I've never felt anything like it myself from driving other cars. I highly recommend them. I've been driving with them now for, well, probably about a month now, maybe 3 weeks, and they're just night and day compared to the standard brake setup, and those pads are just unbelievable. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.